Today we're going to talk about the power of faith. Power of faith. Keep that in mind, folks. Patrick Overton said, when you come to the edge of all the light that you know, and you're about to drop off into the darkness of the unknown, faith is knowing one of two things is going to happen. Number one, there'll be something solid for you to stand on. And number two, you'll be taught how to fly. This is Ariel Lara's story. Let's meet her. My guest today is Ariel Lara. She served in the United States Army. She was a homeless teenager. She found purpose in the military, in the Army. And today, she's the co-director of the Warriors Refuge. The goal here is not only to end veteran homelessness, but more importantly, heal veterans. That's what really matters. Ariel's a contributing author to my upcoming book, Business Secrets from the Battlefield to the Boardroom, and this book will be available on pre-order on March 29. March 29, mark your calendars, March 29. Get this book. The book is stories by veterans, by spouses, by children, and by supporters. So their stories in their own words. You want to get this book. Ariel, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Frank, thank you so much for having me. Very excited.
We're excited to have you on the show and as a contributing author. Your story was very, very compelling. As I was reading it, I was going, oh my God. So tell us, what happened when you were 14?
So that is $1 million question. You know, a lot of the times when I get to share my personal story and things like that, we kind of start off at that point. But one thing that I do share is God has held me through every obstacle that I've come across. And at 14 years old, I was removed from my home because the people that were in charge of taking care of me simply were not doing that correctly. And so I became essentially an orphan. I had a few family members that were able to kind of help me out. And I had a couple of family members that would let me, you know, kind of couch surf. And I would kind of go between aunt and cousins and so on. And so at that age, I really realized I was going to have to start working. I was going to have to figure things out.
Mm-hmm. At 14, that's incredible.
14 years old.
Incredible. Now, you write a great deal about the influence of someone named Captain Donovan. How did he help you?
So Captain Donovan, he was the man in charge, still is the man in charge of the Brazoria County Juvenile Justice Alternative Education System. So the JJAEP for short there. So along my journey as a 14, 15-year-old homeless student, I ended up getting put in the boot camp program is what they call it. And Captain Donovan, who at the time was a reservist in the Army, he had done active and he was a reservist at that point, was the man in charge of getting us kids lined out and squared away so they could move forward and go be productive members of society, as he would like to say. Mm-hmm. So he came into my life at 15 years old. I was a junior in high school and I got placed into that boot camp. Captain Donovan, he was an incredible man. And I honestly didn't even realize until I myself went to basic, how he had it structured. I mean, push up for push up, the boot camp and basic. So it was a really, really neat experience, but he was someone who, he was very well spoken. He was a man of faith, and he did not look at the kids in that program as troublemakers, as lost. And I truly believe that it comes from his experience with the Army. I mean, he treated us exactly the way I was treated once I did join. And I'm really grateful for that. He taught me a lot of structure. He taught me a lot of morals that I didn't realize that I would hold on to so tightly. Mm-hmm. So he was He was a huge influence on my life, and I'm proud to call him friend now. I did kind of finally run into him again about 2 years ago while I was speaking at a VFW.
Nice. It's always wonderful, and we don't realize it when we're younger, the impact that somebody has on us. And just like in your case, you don't know the impact you're having on all these other veterans.
Right. No, and it was very neat getting to see him. Even though we had not run into each other, he had kind of followed my story along social media and along some of the other avenues that I've been able to share it with. And so it was really nice being able to make him proud. That was a big moment for me.
That's amazing. Now, at 17, you become an emancipated youth. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said, I want to join the Army.
Yes.
What happened?
So I continued on at the juvenile justice. And at that point, I was 15 when I got my first job. And I realized what working meant. I realized that, hey, I am able to kind of take care of myself. And so on the evenings, weekends, things like that, I worked at a small taco shop in the middle of nowhere, Brazoria County, Texas. And I was just really grateful that they gave me that opportunity. And it was really interesting because it was also some of those points that Captain Donovan had kind of placed. I was an early bird. I would get there about 4 a.m. and I started working. Now, the thing with that is I became absent sometimes during first and second period once I returned to high school. And by luck, as you could say, God always has a plan. But the justice of the peace that actually was going to handle truancy for me, he was a regular customer at the taco shop. So I remember walking into his courtroom and we just had that initial eye contact. And it's funny now, but I was like, I know him. And so walking into his courtroom, he's like, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I work. I said, sometimes I cannot break away exactly at 8 a.m. And that's a shift I'm responsible for. So he, after a very long debate, gave me the opportunity to pursue my GED. At that point, I had turned 17 about 2 weeks before that court date, and he gave me a chance. And so I was able to get my GED. He gave me 30 days to bring him a passing GED score, and he would drop the truancy, and I would be able to pursue my life as an emancipated adult. And on day 26 is when I got those results, and I left work. I ran down to his courtroom, and it was a beautiful moment. So
I'll bet it was. I'll bet it was for him too.
Yes. Oh, yes. He put a lot of faith out there, and honestly, even with the influence of Captain Donovan, who at that point had actually went back active. So the summer that I left there, he left as well, and he decided to go back active. And this would have been about 2007 or 2008. Mm-hmm. And so he was no longer there. And I just knew, okay, God, if he did not give me that opportunity, had he just sent me back to the boot camp, I honestly don't know that I'd be sitting here in front of you today.
They wanted to go into the Army, but it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen?
So with my brand new paperwork, with my brand new ability to sign for myself, the first thing I wanted to do was go and join the Army. It's what I felt I needed. It's a structure that I always felt calling. And I was very excited. I knew what they had to offer, and coming from nothing, that was something I really craved, something I really knew I needed. And unfortunately, at the time, I had, as you can see, I do have quite a bit of tattoos here, but I did have these below the elbow at that point. And that is actually what kept me from being able to sign when I wanted to. And it was something, you know, at 17, everything breaks your heart.
Yes.
And it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. And so I didn't get immediately too discouraged. I tried one more time just after that, and still it was not happening. And so at that point, I was like, okay, well, what can I do from here? I'm young, I'm in shape. So naturally, I went and worked at a gym for a little while. And so I stuck with that. You know, I try to keep my health up because I knew one day I would want to try again.
It's there. So in 2015, you get married, you start a family, and you
Yes.
still wanted to join the Army.
Yes.
So how did that work with your husband?
So first of all, I have to absolutely just explain how incredible of a man he is. When we crossed paths in 2015, I was Miss Independent. I knew what I wanted and I knew what I didn't want. And I like to say that I overthink things a little bit. And we got married fairly quickly, but he was he was incredible. He was a man that I had never experienced. He was supportive and I could just trust him. And so um, we got married in about 9 days, and that's a story for another time.
Right.
But he has supported me in all of my endeavors. A lot of my professional career has been with local nonprofits, chamber of commerce work, and things like that. A lot of event planning, and that, as you know, is a lot of night and weekends, things like that. So with three young kids, it got a little tiresome. But he believed in me and he knew what I wanted, and he also knew from very early on that the Army had a very big influence in my life, and he knew that was deep inside.
Exactly. That's the kind of partner you want to have, someone
Yes,
just like that.
absolutely. And I will say, you know, he was, I mean, I could say we're going to go skydiving tomorrow, and we would probably be getting packed up, ready to go.
Outstanding. So you get in, you finally get in, you made it into the Army. This is the
Yeah.
dream. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's like the universe said, okay, we're going to do something different here. What happened when you got in?
Absolutely. So when I finally enlisted, we had our three children. My daughter was not quite a year old, and you know that calling was still there. And um, by chance, my husband had come across on social media where they advertise, and they had a little picture on there, and it said that you could now have tattoos beyond your elbow as long as they were cut at the wrist and nothing on the hands and things like that. And he actually screenshotted it and sent it to me. And so I got really excited. And it was not the exact version of the Army that I had always had in my mind, but I was able to join the reserve. So we had, you know, I was married, we had children, and the reserve was a beautiful option for me to pursue that passion, and still be a mother and still be a wife. And so I was in, let's see, so I left, I did basic things like that. And then 2020 hit, and it was a very, very interesting year. I was enjoying my drill weekends in the reserve. It was a beautiful time of my life where I got to be a mom, you know, a solid 3.5 weeks. And then my one weekend, I got to put on the uniform and go pursue a dream. And so in February of 2020, I was on at Fort Leonard Wood, and I had a pretty big fall. And it was during some training. I actually fell about 12 feet. I broke my hip and my foot.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal. Very big deal. And in Army years, I was a little old. I was a mom. I had 3 kids. So when you get that broken hip, you kind of know what's around the corner. So I started to prepare myself for that. And unfortunately, I love my time and I'm very proud of it. But November of 2020 was my last day.
And so you were there and then off to what's ever next. Now, this is interesting because before 2020, in 2019, you met Dr. Cliff Robertson. Okay.
Yes.
And his vision changed your world. What happened there?
Big time. So meeting Dr. Cliff Robertson, he's a Navy veteran. He actually experienced homelessness himself and was in a veterans homeless shelter in Tyler, Texas. And he had such a clear calling of, we need to help our veterans. And meeting him was not by chance at all. And I remember listening to his story. We were at a Chamber of Commerce event in West Columbia, and I wish I could recall exactly who introduced us. And it was immediate. I can't remember what I had on me that he was like, "Oh, are you a veteran?" And I was like, "No, sir." I said, I'm still in the reserve right now." And that was it. That was just a spark of conversation. And with me, a lot of the passion comes from, I enlisted a little bit older. I enlisted with a little bit of a different mindset than what most enlist with in the beginning. And we kind of started talking about a lot of trial and error that the military can do when you're exiting and when you are having to exit, even when you're not ready.
Right.
And so it was one of those conversations that went about 4 hours, even after that Chamber of Commerce event was over. And I knew I wanted to be a part of what he was creating.
Tell us, what did you create? Tell us about the Warrior Refuge. Warrior Refuge.
Yeah. So this is the moment that I've been waiting for. So the Warrior's Refuge. So in my 30-second spill, what Dr. Cliff Robertson did and what I came on board for, there were about 4 of us at the time, is we took a former nursing home, we remodeled it and created a veterans homeless shelter. But we are so much more than that. And when I say shelter, that is honestly the most basic service that we have there. So back in 2019, when those doors actually opened, if you're familiar with some of the old nursing homes, they almost have like a spider web design. They have the different wings. And we only had one wing that was renovated. We had a makeshift kitchen out of the old employee lounge. But we had a mission, and we had so much support. God was on our side the whole time. And we absolutely knew that, hey, this is what we're going to do. And we wanted to be a one stop. We wanted a veteran to walk in and not only have shelter, have 3 good meals a day, but we wanted to get to the source. What are we facing? Is it, do we need drug and alcohol rehabilitation? Do we need PTSD therapy? Do we need education and employment, benefits looked at? And from that moment, we're like, okay, this is going to be it. And the Warriors Refuge was created. We went in on faith and fumes, I will say, because as soon as we got together, it was nonstop for sure. And with some of my experiences, I brought in a lot of the grant writing and things like that. And so, like I talk about that perfect timing. So at the end of 2019, I had actually written a grant that was approved in April of 2020 while I was actually still on base. And that secured funding for a full-time position for me to come home to.
Wow.
And it was incredible. So when I was, at Fort Leonard Wood, I had my big hip brace on and things like that. I actually didn't announce to anyone that I would be coming home. I kept it to myself. I kind of knew what was happening. And my husband knew, and I was upset. And I like to believe that I kind of pushed that out. I didn't want to be hurt. I was going to make it on my terms. You know what? Yes, I'm ready to exit. And so I got the phone call at the end of April, and I did not even check Dr. Cliff's message for about 3 weeks. And when I got home in May, I immediately called him back, and he said, I just wanted to give you the first opportunity to come be our community development director. And I said, it is so wild that you called. I wasn't supposed to be home until September. And so, from that point on, I came on full time as an employee, as a salaried employee through a really incredible local grant. And here we are, 2023.
It's amazing. So tell us about those early days. There's only 4 of you. How many veterans were coming in? How did you do this?
Oh my goodness. So when I say it was a challenge, and we wore every single hat, and there are about 19 veterans that I apologize to this day for, because I even had to jump in the kitchen because our kitchen lady got sick one time and I had to cook for everyone. And luckily, that went over well. But there were 4 of us, and we averaged between 11 to about 22 veterans at the time. We were not federally funded at the time. We were solely based off community donations. And we were slowly picking up on, other nonprofit resources. We were slowly really trying to get to that point. We had so many ideas, and it just, it was a wildfire all in the beginning. And there was beautiful brainstorming, and we had to actually, okay, hey, we've got veterans in our care now. Let's get done what we're talking about. So there were a lot of late nights, a lot of 60+ hour weeks every single week. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. It was incredible. And I'm happy to say that as of right now, I know as of Monday, we actually have 34 full-time employees right now.
34. Wow.
30.
Now you've expanded this program. You're doing more than just the basic that you started with.
Yes.
What's it evolved to?
So if you were to come and physically tour the Warriors Refuge today, we have completely renovated top to bottom this building. I am very excited because we actually just got a brand new roof on it. It's probably still drying. It's about 3 weeks old. And that was a huge hurdle for us with those old flat top roofs. That was a big deal. And it was so hard to really plan the renovation for everything underneath that. But we are federally funded. We get a lot of grants through the VA. We have a very strong partnership with them. And that's something I'm very proud to be able to say we have, because it took a lot of work to get there. But if you were to walk through our doors today and take a tour, it's not seamless, I will say, because just like the military, I don't believe anything is seamless. But you have a strong support system. So if a veteran walks through our halls, whether they are needing to check in as a resident, or if they are needing to simply come check out some of the services that we have to offer, we have 2 on-site LCDC counselors. We have another therapist that helps with the PTSD and those other mental health issues that a lot of the veterans need that assistance with. We have a sister nonprofit that's housed inside of there, and that was one of the brainchilds that I had, and it was one of the bigger federally funded grants that I was able to write and bring on board, and that is the Warrior Empowerment. So they cover our education and employment department. So if a veteran is needing to come and reset, or if they are coming from underneath a bridge, and that is a statement that I will say all day long, because there is no right or wrong way to be a homeless veteran or to be a veteran in need of assistance. And I mean, we have had veterans walk in with incredible salaries, and we've had veterans walk in with the clothes on their back. And so they are able to have that safe haven there. And while we are not a faith-based nonprofit, we do say that we are faith-filled. And if they're coming in for any of those issues that I talked about, we're there to help them. They're able to transition. So a lot of the times the veterans will stay with us on average about 4 to 6 months, just depending on if they are pre or post 9/11. And so being able to walk into a hallway that when I first walked into the building almost didn't exist. It's incredible to see these counselors and these licensed professionals, and to see these men and women who are doing so much for so many veterans. It's so fulfilling, and I love it. I'm so excited to be there. Anything that I can ever do to support them, I feel like that's what I say my role is.
And what you're doing is truly amazing. I have checked with some other people, and they say, you know, this is for what you do. This is the model. This is the model. Now, we met through the Houston Region Veteran Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
How have they helped you?
They have been such an ally, personally and professionally. I could go on and on about Dave Weaver and John and Jen and everyone there. So I met John and Dave about a month or 2 into their official launch of the Veterans Chamber, and they were being honored alongside the Warriors Refuge at a 5K in one of the local cities. And we had no idea each other existed. And when I say, that divine intervention, my area of expertise with Chamber of Commerce has always been ambassador programs and building them and things like that. I've sat on several boards, and it's a hobby, I would say. I love small business. I love being able to connect demographics that need help. Whether it's the veteran community, an underrepresented, whatever the case might be, that's always been a really beautiful passion. And so meeting John and getting to hear about this, and they were brand new, and they just kind of scooped me up and took me with them. So they, like I said, they have personally and professionally supported me. The Warriors Refuge has a very big annual fundraiser, and it's always the weekend after Veterans Day. And they showed up full force. They have been able to provide resources for me within the chamber membership. And I, in exchange, have been able to share a lot of my knowledge on building a Pathfinder program for the Houston Veterans Chamber.
They are pursuing aggressively.
Oh, yes. Yes, big time.
This selfless service is so powerful. People will call it fate. People will call it all kinds of different things. But when you have this selfless service that you have, that Dave and John have put together, it's not fate. It just happens. It just fits. It's outstanding.
Oh yes, they are a force to be reckoned with. I mean, Dave is. I've seen chambers start, and I've seen chambers honestly kind of go stagnant sometimes. And Dave has incredible energy, first of all.
Yes.
And he is the man to get this done. And, like I said, I love the structure of this chamber and what it's provided. Of course, my business, as a nonprofit, this is my business. This is what, this is how I'm helping others. And then personally, just throughout my time with them and being able to come on board and being able to share little details that I can to help.
It's a truly collaborative operation.
Yes.
Everyone helps everyone. If there's none of this, what's in it for me? It's
yes.
You need help, I can do that. Or I know somebody who can do that.
Yes.
And whoever we call in just jumps right in and says, how can I help? Show me what you need. Let's get it done. It's amazing.
Oh, yes.
It's amazing. So Ariel, how do people get a hold of you?
So we have a few different ways. So we are on social media. We are at the Warriors Refuge on Facebook. And we are at the warriorsrefuge.us. That is our website. There is a link on both on social media and on the website that links directly to myself. And then my email also, it's just simply Ariel at the warriorsrefuge.us. And I would love to connect with anyone out there that is just looking to support or looking to get support. Awareness is number one for us. Healing the veteran is number one for us. If you don't know we exist, we cannot help more veterans. And that is always what I love to close out with, because you never know. You never know. I love speaking engagements. I love being able to go out into the community and show off what the refuge has done and what they will continue to do.
It's quite a story, folks. This is something from a homeless 14-year-old to build this amazing program that is touching the lives of so many people and giving so many people hope and giving them a chance. It's amazing. Well, Ariel, we're just about out of time. Any one of the last words you'd like to leave with the audience around the world today?
Thank you. If you're watching this, you are a supporter of military, a supporter of veterans, or a supporter of business, and that is what I am here for. I encourage everyone to purchase the book. I mean, it's full of beautiful stories. I am so grateful to be a part of this, and so thank you, Frank, and a big thank you to the Houston Veterans Chamber for allowing me to be a part of this as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, reach out to Ariel. If you send her an email, she will respond. If you put a note on there, she will respond. I mean, like that, she responds. You need to know this woman, folks. She really has it together. Now, as I said, we're just about out of time. Again, Ariel, thank you so much for sharing this story and this commitment you have to selfless service. It's just amazing. To see Ariel's story and several other veterans, spouses, children, parents, and supporters all contributed to this book. The book will be out March 29th. Again, write that down, March 29th, everybody. Get the book. Now you can see this on ROKU TV or on my YouTube channel, which is just simply called Frank Zaccari. I will also send a link to Ariel, and she'll put it out to all the places that she publishes information for and to. And if you use my YouTube, please subscribe. Now, let me leave you with this. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Ariel showed us where many of those rocks are. Join me again next week, another life-altering event. Ariel, I can't thank you enough.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.